This is TradeFlow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. TradeFlow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets.
A group of bipartisan U.S. senators on Wednesday said they have reintroduced legislation to pressure the OPEC oil production group to stop making output cuts. The so-called No Oil Producing and Exporting Cartels, or NOPEC, bill was reintroduced by Senators Chuck Grassley, a Republican, and Amy Klobuchar, a Democrat, and others on the Judiciary Committee. If passed by the committee, both chambers of Congress and signed by President Joe Biden, NOPEC would change U.S. antitrust law to revoke the sovereign immunity that has protected OPEC Plus members and their national oil companies from lawsuits over price collusion.
Oil prices were in a holding pattern on Thursday, as a larger-than-expected draw in U.S. crude stocks and hopes for China demand contended with worries that more aggressive U.S. interest rate rises would slow economic growth and dent oil consumption. Brent crude futures edged up by 1 cent to $82.67 per barrel by 0645 GMT, while US WTI crude futures were flat at $76.66 a barrel. Both benchmarks declined between 4% and 5% over the previous 2 days. They posted their largest daily fall since early January on Tuesday after comments by U.S. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell that the central bank would likely need to raise interest rates more than expected in response to recent strong data.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
U.S. crude oil stockpiles fell last week, breaking a 10-week streak of builds, while distillate inventories rose to the highest level in over a year, the Energy Information Administration said on Wednesday. Crude inventories fell by 1.7 million barrels to 478.5 million barrels in the week ending March 3, compared with analysts' expectations in a Reuters poll for a 0.4 million barrel rise. U.S. weekly unaccounted for crude oil adjustments swung by the second most on record last week, according to the AIA, which has distorted some of the data.
Train and air traffic will again be disrupted in France on Thursday, and garbage collection in cities including Paris will be patchy as strikes against a planned pension reform are set to enter a third consecutive day. Opinion polls show a majority of voters oppose President Emmanuel Macron's plan to delay the retirement age by 2 years to 64, but the government says the policy change is essential to ensure the system does not go bust. Workers in several sectors including oil refineries and railways continued to strike on Wednesday and plan to carry on for the rest of the week after record numbers of people took to the streets on Tuesday as part of a nationwide day of industrial action. Next, we have the top news in metal markets. Copper mining giants are scrambling to attract and retain workers, especially in the United States, amid rising global demand for the red metal for the green energy transition. While regulatory pushback and water supply have been among the mining industry's historical challenges, access to talent has emerged as another worry. With workers opting for jobs that are less physically demanding jobs and not in far-flung locales, attracting mining talent is now a key problem for the industry, facing a wave of retirements in the next decade. Workers are needed with skills to build and run mines producing lithium, nickel, copper and other metals to feed the green energy transition.
Gold prices traded in a tight range on Thursday as some investors stayed on the sidelines ahead of U.S. jobs data that could influence the Federal Reserve's monetary policy path. Spot gold was flat at $1,813.20 per ounce, as of 0716 GMT, trading in a $5 range, after hitting its lowest since February 28 on Wednesday. U.S. gold futures eased 0.1% to $1,816.70. Gold is considered a hedge against inflation, but interest rate hikes to control rising prices make non-yielding bullion less attractive.
We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector.
Improved yields reported by beet sugar producers in the United States led to another increase in the projection for the total sugar production in the country in the 2022-23 crop, October to Sept, the USDA said on Wednesday. The U.S. Department of Agriculture increased its estimate for beet sugar production in its monthly supply and demand report WASDE to 5.16 million short tons, street, from 5.1 million street last month, saying beet sugar yields in most producing regions continue to be above average. That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to TradeFlow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.